Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Marvellous Monday. Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are. If you think it's Get Rich Quick, you're in the wrong place. This is the wrong podcast. This is the wrong live for you. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hope you're all awesome and well.
There it is, team. Morning. Morning to wherever you're tuning in from today. You're wondering where I am, bit of a different background today, and down in Melbourne, and a bit of the same team. Whenever I come to Melbourne, they tell me it rains, but that is true. But also Melbourne has that effect, I'm sure. But morning to wherever you guys are tuning in from today. If you haven't seen me around before, my name's Cass, here representing the Property Management Group, part of the 6-star team. And what we do here on a Wednesday, I was going to say 8:10 for the locals up in Queensland, but it almost caught me off guard today, team, and almost tuned in at about 7:10 bloody Victoria time, I think it was, or whatever it may be, if I got the time wrong this morning, team. But listen, here representing the Preem team. And for those that know, we jump on every Wednesday, talk a bit about property management, all things about holding property, legislation, all the cool things, some case studies, some stories. We'll have a good story here at on Property Management Wednesdays, of course. So here to do that today, of course. Bunty's here as well. So good morning. Morning, Bunty. Mate, thanks for jumping on. Kevin, as always. Mate, good morning to you. Good evening from this end as well. Jeff, good stuff, mate. Hope you're well. I think Daylight Savings caught Jeff and I out Monday's mentoring session, mate. I saw, so I'm with you, Jeff. Should just make everyone on the same time frame. But anyway, team, enough about that rambling on. Let's get in today's topic. I want to share a bit of a story and maybe have a bit of chat with you guys about this one. Pet bonds, is that a thing? Is it lawful? Is it something we should talk about? Is it something we should just accept? How do we handle this? How do we go about it? What's the repercussions and consequences, I suppose, if this stuff doesn't go right? Certainly going to have a conversation about that. So I'd love to know in the chat if you guys have had any experiences, good or bad, around pets in your properties. Maybe you guys have got a pet. I've certainly got one. They can be the best thing, but they can also be little rat bags at times. So Luke's on as well, mate. Morning. Good stuff, team. So, as I said, a bit about pet bonds today. Why do I bring this up? What relevance does it have with property management? Well, there's a few, legislation differences around the country around this. And I actually part of this landlord group, and I had something come up today, and I want to read it word for word because it's quite interesting. And some of the comments around this team was quite interesting, and a few of you might have a little chuckle like I am. But I'll read this out really quickly, team. So someone had posted anonymously to a landlord group, and they said, "Hey, I'm about to rent my house. Since when is there no pet bond? I have no issue with pets, but what if it causes more damage than the total of the bond?" Right, and I thought, interesting question. There's probably a lot more questions I have back at that person, whoever this anonymous person was. because there's a couple of things in there, right? Since when is there no pet bond? I'll share my thoughts on that in a minute, and I'll tell you the exact facts on it, team. But this sort of post had generated 70 plus comments. There's a lot of fluff, a lot of inaccurate commentary from what I saw. Comments like, you don't need landlord's insurance. You need the tenant to get their own insurance. That was a bit of a wild comment. Hey, add a clause to the lease. Tenant responsibility. There was one in there I thought was quite fun. I did have a chuckle about it. Hey, kids do more damages than pets, so you should be fine. If anyone's got kids, you might agree that maybe that commentary is real, right? So a lot of different opinions, a lot of different things around it. So I thought I'd just get to the bottom of it today with you guys. If you've had any pet experiences in your property, it's worked out well, it's had some damages, love to hear your story quickly in the chat team. So feel free to, join me in here in this conversation and participate. But, I thought I'd just go through with you guys and go, look, how do we actually handle this? If my tenant wants to get a pet or is looking to get a pet, like what's the process around that? What do you guys need to know? How should my property manager handle that? And then, if it's not handled, correctly, what happens? What are the consequences? Because it's all about, keeping you guys safe. That's what your property manager is here to do. And I suppose, give you guys some clarity and confidence around what the actual legislation and process is. So firstly, team, pet bonds are not lawful in majority of the states and territories around the country. So when this person said, hey, I'm about to rent my house, why? Since when is there no pet bond? Tell you what, there's never been one, especially in Victoria. In this case, hasn't been one, team. The only state that I'm aware of that has some sort of allowance or boundary around this is in WA, where there's a pet bond up to about $260, I think. So not a lot in that space, but excluding WA, Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia, certainly Victoria, pet bonds are not lawful. So number one, let's get to the facts on that stuff. It's got to be about who you sort of listen to. Jump on your local state, websites and you'll go into there. Luke's got a bit of a story here. Tenant said they had one dog. Reality is they had 4 dogs and a cat. Now they're moving on next month. I'm sure the turf now will be destroyed. Yes. So how did it get from 1 dog to 4 dogs and a cat, right? Let's talk about that. So what do you guys need to know? For most states and territories, team, and also I'm just going to put a condition on this, just check your local state authorities and check with your property managers. But for the eastern seaboard of Australia, right, tenants are required to seek consent from you as the landlord via your property manager, if you've got someone, in the event that they like to get a pet and keep a pet, right? Now, that word pet is also, Luke says it's called lying. Agree, Luke, agree. It's 100% accurate. Right, pets are domesticated animals. Obviously, you can jump online and find out. I'm not going to get into that today. I think you guys all understand what a pet might be considered as. So number one, they are required to come to you guys and gain consent. That's first and foremost. As property management groups, we are, as I always say, here to keep you safe and help you maintain and hold your wealth. And part of that is having a real open and honest communication with our tenants, because if that's what they are looking to do, that's okay. But we're going to get the right information up front and not do what maybe one of Luke's tenants did and lied. We don't want that. Chris is online too. Morning, Chris. Chris, if you've got a pet, one of your properties getting experiences, let me know for sure, and I'll keep going. Number 2, team, around pet clauses and proving pets and things like that, it is okay to have reasonable conditions around that. And that might be, ensuring that the property's kept clean, obviously free of damages. Responsibility does sit with the tenant team and the renter. So please understand there is, some conditions and terms around that you can apply, obviously. Now, how people go and apply for pets team with you guys is obviously through a particular application form. So, it shouldn't just be verbal. Right, we don't want people lying. In Luke's case, we definitely don't want that. Tenants need to 1, seek consent, 2, fill out an application form. Let's get all the detail, gather the information, and compare to what. Right now in Victoria and Queensland. Now, again, just letting you guys know that's where kind of we operate as a business group. But in Queensland and Victoria, and I dare say it might be similar in some other states like New South Wales, maybe South Australia as well, where you as the landlord, what you need to know is if one of your tenants does apply for a pet, 1 dog or maybe 4 and a cat in Luke's case, you need to respond within 14 days, team. Okay. If you are not responding within 14 days, either with a yes or no, right, we'll get to that in a minute, If you're not responding within 14 days, that request is deemed approved. Yeah, is everyone cool with that? So 14 days, you have to respond. Otherwise, it's deemed approved, whether you like it or not. 14 days time frame, guys. Please keep that in mind. Now, obviously, we need to adhere to any council and strata bylaws. There might be a condition around that where you've got to submit that request via the body corporate or the owners committee as well. So keep an eye on that stuff. Now, team, if you want to refuse, right, if you decline the pet application, you are within your right to do that. However, it's got to be to the prescribed legislation and reasonable reasons to decline that request. Now, what are some of those reasons? One of those reasons could be that I'm not picking on you, Luke. Like, it's a great example. In this case, where hey, maybe we approved one pet. And next minute there's 4 dogs and a cat, that might be deemed to exceed, the number of pets kept at that property. Maybe 5 pets seems unreasonable, right? So in the event, that might be deemed a reasonable reason to decline that. The property could be unsuitable, right? Potentially, now I don't know what type of property it is, but if you've got 5 pets in a 1-bedroom apartment, that might be deemed and considered unreasonable, right? So you've got to be aware of that. Obviously, if any of the pets pose unreasonable or unacceptable health risks, picture I don't know, I've seen it many times, team. 13 years doing this, I'll tell you what, I've seen snakes in properties. Thankfully, they've been caged for my own safety. But imagine, any venomous snakes out there and things like that. Now in Queensland, that could be more prominent depending on locations, right? So, anything that could be deemed a health risk, you've got to consider that as well. So look, how would we handle it, team? What are we supposed to do? As a landlord? So number one, definitely make sure that you're replying within 14 days, right? You need to make sure your property managers, and this is where you guys got to step in and understand and work out, how is your property manager communicating, when it comes to this particular issue. Now, I've been very big on communication and negotiation and dialogue and how, property managers can handle things in a range of different topics, which is what we do here on a Wednesday, but how I'd handle it, right? If we've set up real good, honest and open communication with the tenancy, the likelihood is that in the event they'd like to apply for a pet, you are going to get all the information, team. So you're going to make really good informed decisions because you've got all the information. And we'd like to think that the tenants aren't lying, aren't telling, fibs. So, right, we're hopefully then unlikely to turn up and have 5 pets in the property and maybe a snake there. Who knows, right? Work with the tenant, not against the situation, team. So sometimes we've got to put our differences aside for a moment. We might be a dog person, we might be a cat person. I'm not a snake person, but I don't know if anyone else is. So, you've got to. You've got to do that. So Chris is jumping on you and saying, yeah, now we've got to let the landlord know because his son's moving back with 2 more. Yeah, so Chris is doing the right thing. He's getting back in there and he's letting the landlord know, hey, situation's changed. So that's really good, right? Because the reality is, team, if you've got a 4-bedroom home, I'm just going to use this as an example, in a family-orientated area, and you've got a great backyard, and the demographic of tenant are families who have 1, 2 kids and maybe a pet, then the likelihood is that your property is actually going to attract that type of tenant profile, right? Which is totally okay, but we want to make sure we get the right information, the right application, the right conditions around it, and then we're monitoring that through the process. To confirm, pet bonds, they are not lawful. Teams, everyone with me? Excluding WA at the moment. I would dare say WA is looking at a few things, and I dare say they'll get rid of that soon. That's my 2 cents. So, team, in this case, Anonymous says, "Hey, I'm about to rent my house. Since when is there no pet bonds?" There's obviously some significant concern around that, right? No issues with pets, but it causes damage more than the bond. So, in the event, let's say the bond is $3,000, team. 12 months down the track, you're doing a routine inspection, or the tenant's vacating, and all of a sudden, you believe there is more than $3,000 worth of damages. And in this event, let's say it is all to do with pet damage, right? They've scratched your floorboards, they've ripped the carpet up, they've chewed everything you can think of. I've seen dogs chew skirting boards, range of different things, right? I'm sure you guys have a ton of stories as well. Right, what do you do in that scenario? Now, team, something called landlord's insurance, right? Now, depending on your policy, again, I'm not a landlord insurance expert, but I know there are probably 1, 2, maybe 3 policies out there that do actually have pet damage cover as part of their premium, as part of their policy, right? So what does that look like? Well, there's one example at the moment, and I'm not going to share their name or anything like that, but there's a pet damage in there that covers up to $5,000 per premium, right? right? So, in this event, if this owner had a bit more information, they had the right property manager, they had the right setup with their insurances, they would know that in the event, if damages were exceeding the bond, that they would actually be covered via their landlord's insurance, right? Not the fluff and inaccurate commentary from someone who said, don't get landlord's insurance. You shouldn't have to pay for it. Get your tenant to get insurance. That makes no sense. Don't do that, team. Certainly protect yourself first, right? It's about keeping you safe. So, if you one of your properties right now, and your tenant or your renter has a pet in there, certainly just have a quick look at your insurance policy. If it's not on there, give them a call and maybe get your property manager to help you with that, because certainly there are 1, 2, maybe 3 insurances out there that have pet damage cover up to $5,000, which would certainly in my experience anyway, cover everything that you would need to sort of look at. So that's my 2 cents in there, team. Bit about pet bonds. They're not lawful in most states. Take out WA for a moment. It's only a short, very, very small amount in terms of WA. But team's all about having, the right process framework, right knowledge around this sort of stuff, like know the facts. Your property manager should be doing this for you. Always talk about, how we've got to keep you guys safe and help you maintain your wealth. And this is just one element of a lot of things that, can go on and what can get done. So, don't be the order taker, right? Sometimes that leads to too many headaches. Chris is saying grass will grow back. Yeah, that's it. It is. And things can get rectified. Things can get back to normal, right? So, all right, team, I'm going to pause there. I'm down in Melbourne. I'm going to go off to my next gig. Thanks for playing full out, as always. Love to see you guys on. Appreciate, thanks for the stories, Luke, Chris, everyone else here this morning as well. Carolyn, can see you there. Thank you. That's it for me, team. You guys have a good Wednesday. Don't forget, 10:09 for the locals down here in Melbourne, New South Wales. Whatever local time, 8:10 Queensland time. Jump on tomorrow again, and there'll be another episode of Wealth Coffee Chats down the bottom, 8:10. As always, team, you guys have a good day, and I'll see you next Wednesday for another episode of Property Management Wednesdays. Catch you, team.
Episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6 Star team here at positivementor.com.au.